Alrighty, we are on Daf Kof Yod, and just to remind ourselves of Mishnah, it's more about knots. I'm going to title this "Knots Again," and we'll see some interesting back and forth, and we're going to end with the very famous statement about Yedidat Hadorot, how the generations have gone down. So that's something to look forward to. Okay, so the Mishnah, just a quick reminder, said that the following are knots that you are allowed to make on Shabbat because they are temporary knots. So a whole bunch of them, including one about sandals. We're going to spend some time on that. The Eliezer ben Yaakov adds also one that you put in front of an animal to close its gate. That's also temporary because eventually you're going to open it to let the animal out. All right, good. So we're up to this statement here. It says miftah halukah. You have a garment that has opening. You can tie it up. Yeah, well, pishita, obviously you can tie it up. I mean, it's only a day garment. You're going to take it off at night. So obviously it's temporary. Talking about if it has two laces. So not like this, but perhaps let's say it's a blouse or something that has maybe on each neckline or each shoulder has two openings. So to get it off, you only have to open one. And so a person might regularly only open one to take it off and on and leave the other one on permanently. And therefore you might think them is left on permanently, it's called a permanent knot. I would have thought that one of them becomes void and becomes like permanent. So no, it's not the normal way to put it on and off, even if someone might do that. Normally you do untie both of them, and therefore even if it has two, both of them are still allowed to tie. Okay, we're going to have a similar thing here with a woman's hairnet. Pishita, of course you can tie and untie the hairnet. It's temporary, you take it off every day. No, so talking about where it's a loose fitting one, that you could take it off without untying the knot. So you might think that that's like a permanent knot because you leave it all the time. You might have thought that she just takes it off, without untying it. No, but women care a lot about their hair, and if you take it off without untying it, you're probably going to pull off some hairs, and nobody wants to do that. So even if a few people do, generally the normal way is to untie it and take it off properly. So therefore, it's called a temporary knot. Okay. Of course, I mean, the Mishnah is, these are all reading into the Mishnah. The Mishnah itself, we could just say, is simply giving this halacha because they are knots. I mean, we have to know the principle that a temporary knot is okay, but since it has so many examples, the Gemara wants to learn something further. What other chidush can we learn from it? And so this way we can add more chidushim, kind of like making a midrash on the Mishnah. All right, now we're going to spend some time on the shoes and sandals. Urisuot min al ve'sandal. Itmar hitir risuot min al ve'sandal. So we have a statement that straps and shoes and sandals are allowed on Shabbat. The problem is now we have three different halachot about shoes and sandals, all different halachot. Taneh hada hayav chatat. One says if you tie a shoe or sandal, then hayav chatat midoraita. Tanya idach patura balasur. The second one says patura balasur, meaning it's asur midrabanan. Tanya idach mutar lechatechila. Third one says you're allowed to do it. So now we have like a three-way machloket between different baraitot about tying shoes. That's really confusing. Kasha min al amin al. Kasha sandal. So the contradiction is regarding both shoes and sandals. Here's something that looks like a Roman shoe, kind of like a boot of our own time. And the sandals would be something like this. This is on a Roman statue, kind of like a thong or sandal you might find the Israelis wear. Okay, so both of them have shoelaces or ties that keep them on. So what's the deal? Is this allowed, prohibited midrabanan, or prohibited midoraita? Well, we're going to solve them and resolve all of the baraitot together. They're really not arguing. They're talking about different cases. When it says chayav chatat, it's talking about a professional shoemaker's knot. That will be the knots that are kind of like on the bottom, that are keeping it there, that are meant to be permanent. Those you can't do. Patura balasur b'derabanan. when it's patur, when it says Masum Doraita, it's talking about the way that rabbis wear shoes. Rabbis wear rabbis wear shoes in a way that they can slip them on and off and never untie their shoelaces. Kind of like the way our teenagers wear their sneakers, right? They never want to spend time tying and untying. So because the rabbis are sitting most of the day and studying, so their shoes can fit loosely, and they don't want to waste time tying and untying them. Therefore, they're kind of semi-permanent. I mean, they're not professional knots like a shoemakers, but they stay in for a long time and aren't used every day, and so therefore that would make it patur aval asur. B'drabanan. Mutar lechatechila b'debnei mechoza. It said when it says you're allowed to tie them at the lechatechila, that's talking about the people in mechoza. They were very fashionable people, and they would never walk around with loose shoes, loose laces. They would tie them and untie them properly every day, and so therefore those are clearly temporary, and that's what it's talking about when it says it's allowed. Obviously not only them, but now you can get the categories and figure out which one you fit into. Each case fits into. Okay, that's talking about shoes. That's enough about shoes.
Would the rabbis not tying their not wanting to tie their shoes have anything to do with washing hands?
Oh yeah, I was thinking that I was preparing like maybe something like that. But it looks like it's more about just not spending time and not caring, and maybe more like a bitul Torah. But that is actually a good question whether if touching shoelaces makes your hands tameh, right? Not touching the bottom of the shoes, and I mean, if the shoelaces are clean, I think it should be okay. So I don't think that would be the main reason, but it's definitely a good thought. Okay, one word about sandals that we're going to need to know. I'll have this picture up here. Some sandals are kind of like this, which are shaped around the foot. So here, clearly, this is a left sandal, distinguished from a right sandal. However, there were also some sandals that were shaped like this, kind of like a trapezoid, where you couldn't tell if this is a right or left sandal, and so they could be changed. So that means that if it breaks, we're going to talk a lot about breaking. Let's say this is a right sandal. So if it breaks on the inside sole, then you can repair it, and the repair won't be seen. So that's okay. It's still considered a shoe. Whereas if it breaks on the outside, nobody wears a sandal that is repaired on the outside, right? Even though these are like low standard shoes, even for ancients, they had some standards, and that would look funny. So if it rips on the outside, it's no longer called a utensil, and that'll have effects for tuman tahara. If it was tameh, it becomes tahor because it's not a utensil anymore. If it's on Shabbat, if it falls off, then it's mukseh. It also has an effect on chalitza. To do chalitza, you know what that is, right? And not to do yibum, you have to use a shoe, a sandal. And so if it's ripped on the outside, then it's not a sandal anymore. So you can't use it. Well, we'll see about that. Okay. So that's what you have to know about sandals. What we're going to see is that was one opinion that you can switch them and take the one, if it rips on the outside, then take it and make it from a right shoe to a left shoe. And now the rip is now in the inside sole. And so you tie it, and now it won't be seen. And so could you do that? Okay, so I just wanted to preface all that while we have this picture up. But now back to that question, we have the three baraitot that say three different things. So we solved it regarding shoes. Regarding sandals, we also solved here. Sandala kashya. The first one, it says you're not allowed to tie them. Chayav midoraita. That's talking about the Arab traders. They would travel a lot, and their ties were made by shoemakers, professional ties, done tightly. And so that's a permanent knot. Patur balasur bidehum rata bekatre inhu. One patur basur is the regular ones that regular straps that most people ordinarily tie, but they don't untie them often. I guess kind of like a sandal. Sandal's more like a slip-on. So you adjust it to your size, and then you leave it like that for a long time. But it's not a professional knot, so that would make it patur bal asur. today. Kiderav Yehuda. And the one that's allowed is if you share sandals with someone else who is not just the same size as you. So then every day you go out in the morning and you make them bigger. I go out in the afternoon and I make them smaller. So we're untying and tying them every single day. And this follows the opinion of Rav Yehuda. We have a little story that Rav Yehuda, Hu de Rav Salah de Hasida, Avalehu Zuga de Sandale. Zimnin de nafek be'ihu, Zimnin nafek be'inuke. He had this. He had these sandals that sometimes he would wear, and sometimes his child would wear. I don't know how old his child was, but I guess big enough that it's kind of somewhat close. So he asked Abaye, "Can I wear these? Can I tie this kind of sandal on Shabbat?" No way, right? Asur mideoraita. He was surprised at the answer. Rav Yehuda says, my question was, is it mutar lechet or asur miderabanan? I never thought you're going to tell me chayav chatat. I'm really surprised that you're being so machmir. My ta'ama, why am I surprised? Why did I think it would be okay? Maleh mishum de behol nameh. All week long, sometimes I wear them, sometimes my child wears them. And so we're always tying and untying them and changing their size. Abaye says, oh, if that's the case, then yes, for sure. That's the story. Now, while in our Talmud, we have the halacha first, and then it says Kidder Rav Yehuda and the story after, right? Obviously, the story actually comes first chronologically. And otherwise he should have explained that. And so he's the questioner didn't make that clear at the beginning because these halachot were not yet set forth. Now that we have the story, we can derive the halacha and summarize it as we did right just above before the story. Okay, now we solved all those three baraitot, and that's good. Now we're going to have two stories about people whose shoes break in the middle of while they're walking. This reminds me of using a bicycle on Yom Tov or Shabbat, and one of the problems is you're riding and then you get a flat tire. Then what do you do? Okay, so they had the same problem with their shoes. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, "Hava ka'azil bet batere." So they were walking in the Karmelit in a Shut Rabim Derabanan, and Rabbi was walking behind him. If Sikri Suad Sandale, and his sandal tore with one of the straps. Amale, my abidle. So he says, what should I do? Male shekol gemilach v'chazel ma'achal behema. So the Abu says, take a moist reed that an animal could eat. Because it's edible for an animal, therefore it's not mukseh, because it's usable. And so you use that and just make a quick patch use that for the strip, and then you can wear it the rest of the way. Okay, so good. So that he was able to save it, and without having to carry, he could do a quick patch and wear the sandal out of Karmelit. All right, that's a nice story. Now we have a second story that's similar. Here he was standing. Abaye was standing in front of Rav Yosef in the courtyard, probably at a Shut HaYachid. If sikle resua, and again his sandal strap broke. Male ma'yabidle. So what should I do? Male shabke, leave it here. Oi, why should I leave it here? Why should I But when Yirmiyah's shoe broke, he was able to fix it and repair it and keep walking. How come I can't do the same halacha? There's hatam la mintar hacha mintar. No, over there, it was in the middle of Karmelit, a place where if they left it there, would have been stolen. But here, it's in the courtyard. Just leave it here till after Shabbat. It's not going to be stolen. But it's interesting that in the case of hefsed, when you're going to lose money, then we can be mekel on matters of the Rabbanan. Although here it's it's still mukseh. In general, you wouldn't say that about mukseh. You can make it not mukseh by fixing it. So, we will allow that. But if it's not necessary, then there's no reason to allow it. So that's the difference between these two stories. Okay. Okay, now here's a question we're going to deal with it for a few paragraphs. hold on, it's still, even if the strip breaks, if the strap breaks, still it's still a utensil because I can just take it and switch it to the other foot and then use it. Notice it'll be flimsy, but it's good enough. So why don't you consider it still a utensil and therefore not mukseh, even if one of the straps breaks? That's the question. Okay. And if we assume that that's true, then we don't have an answer to Rav Yosef. Amar le, he answers, Rav Yosef answers, Mide kamitares Rabbi Yochanan alibad Rabbi Yehuda, shemamina lacha Rabbi Yehuda. Since Rabbi Yochanan one time explained something in accordance with Rabbi Yehuda in the following Mishnah, which we'll see, therefore, the Baita that we'll see, therefore halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. And okay, what is this case? And we'll see how it's relevant. Maihi, what is the case of Rabbi Yehuda you're talking about? De Tanya. Sandal shnifseku shete oznav, or shete tere siyotav, or shenital kol hakaf shelo ahor. I have a sandal that the ears, meaning like the corners or the places where you'd pull it on, if both of them broke, or both of the straps broke, or the entire sole is gone, it becomes tahor. If it was tameh, then now it's not a utensil anymore. This is not useful for anything. It's tahor. It would also be mukseh on Shabbat. Achat me'ozno, or achat me'teri siyotav, or shenital rov hakaf shelo, tameh. However, if it's only one of the corners of the flaps of the ears break, or only one of the straps, or if most of the sole is gone, but some is still there, then it's tameh. It's still usable as a shoe. It's still called a utensil, and therefore would not be mukseh on Shabbat. Okay, that's the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, if seka pnimit tameh, hachitzonat tahor. Yehuda says depends which one. If it's the inside one, then it's tameh because you could repair the inside one, the one near the sole, it won't be seen. But the outside one, that will be seen, and nobody would repair it. It's not going to look good. And so Rabbi Yehuda assumes that you're never going to switch and put the right on the left and the left on the right and make the outside the inside. He says, no, you don't do that. And so therefore, since you don't switch, the outside one is tameh. So he's a little bit more expansive in his definition of what's tameh. Okay. And therefore, he's also going to be more machmir regarding Shabbat, right? Because if outside one breaks, then the Yehuda is going to say no good, right? It's mukseh. Whereas a Tanakama will say, oh, you could switch them around. Amar Ula. Okay, that was the Braita, and on that, Ula vitem Rabba Bar Hana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan commented, "Kemachloket l'inyan tuma, hach machloket l'inyan Shabbat." What they say here about Tuman Tahara is the same thing regarding Shabbat, but is not the same thing regarding Chalitza. Right? In other words, they agree regarding Tuman and Shabbat, but they agree regarding Chalitza. When it says they agree, who agrees which way? The Banan agreed to the Yehuda, or the Yehuda agreed to the Banan regarding Chalitza. It's not clear. So we're going to try both ways. We're going to see the end. It's talking about Rabbi Yehuda. So since Rabbi Yochanan says the statement, and he says it about Rabbi Yehuda, it sounds like he actually agrees with Rabbi Yehuda. And since he agrees with Rabbi Yehuda, then up here, this question that we had, hey, why not switch the right and left, is not a good question because halakha is like Rabbi Yehuda, who says you don't switch the right and left. And that way, the answer of Rabbi Abahu stands that you have to leave the shoe there, and it doesn't matter which one broke. Okay, but now we have to prove that. We have to prove that, in fact, Rabbi Yochanan is talking about Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, when we studied that, we said the following discussion. Who did he say that avalolinan chalitza? Ilema aliba derabanan, midilinyan tuma mana have, linyan Shabbat name mana have. So Rabbanan say it is a utensil. In what case? If one of the straps break, it is a utensil regarding tuma, and therefore it is a utensil regarding Shabbat. But even the Rabbanan would say if one strap breaks, then you cannot use it for chalitza. It's not a utensil for chalitza. Now, would they really say that? They can't, because the Mishnah says, Hatanan chasa shel shtemol bayamin chalitzata keshera. Right? We have another halacha that a woman who wants to do chalitza takes the right sandal off of the yabam's foot. If the yabam happened to be wearing the wrong one, the left sandal on the right foot, and she takes that off, it's still okay. In other words, we have a special leniency regarding chalitza that it doesn't matter if she's the left one or the right one. And so you see that chalitza is going to be more lenient. And so Rabbanan are not going to agree with Rabbi Yehuda, who is more stringent. So that we can't be that way. So Rabbi Yehuda says regarding Tumah, if the outside strap breaks, it's not a utensil. So too regarding Shabbat, it's not a utensil, and therefore it's not mukseh, and you can. So therefore it is mukseh, and you can't carry it. Avalo lachalitza de manahu. But for chalitza, he will be lenient and say even if the outside one breaks, regarding chalitza, as we just said, you can switch right and left, and so he'll agree with Rabbanan. So there you go. The Rabbi Yochanan's statement must be according to the Rabbi Yehuda. And since he made a comment, although he didn't say explicitly, halacha is like the Rabbi Yehuda, he's commenting on it. It means that he thinks it's an agreeable, preferable stance. Oh, so that's how we know. Okay, one more back and forth about this, if that's really the case. I know you just quoted that Mishnah that says if you switch shoes for chalitza, it's okay. Wait a second, that's only if it's actually a shoe, a regular sandal, and you happen to switch the right and the left. That's why it's keshera. But here, if the outside strap breaks, then according to Yehuda, it's not even a vessel at all. So it's not necessarily that the Yehuda is going to say that that's okay. He's probably not going to say it's okay because it's not a vessel that's made. It doesn't fulfill its purpose. So because he said that if the outside strap breaks, it becomes tahor. It's not a utensil. You can't use that for chalitza. So that doesn't work. Okay, we're going to save this and say really it is a biuda. I'm just going to change the statement. When Rabbi Yochanan said over here, I'll change that bechen the chalitza. In other words, the opposite, that there is a machloket also regarding chalitza that between Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda. And once you do that, אחד למלטה מנהו, אבל למלטה לאו מנהו. And so the point is to teach us that if the outside strap breaks, according to the Yehuda, it's no longer a utensil at all, and therefore it cannot be used. Okay, and so since Rabbi Yochanan still, his statement was about Rabbi Yehuda, so he thinks halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. All right, that all was a proof that Rabbi Yochanan thinks halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, although somewhat indirect. Now we question this directly. Mi amar Rabbi Yochanan hachi, v'amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha kistam mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan says in general, not necessarily about just this mishnah here, but in general he has the rule halacha kistam mishnah. In fact, Rabbi Yochanan is the author of most of the rules that we say, right? Halacha kerabim, between Rabbi Yosef and so on and so forth. So Rabbi Yochanan is a first generation after the Mishnah, and because Mishnah is a lot of machloket, Rabbi Yochanan took it upon himself to establish clear guidelines and rules about which opinion to follow. So in general, he says halacha kistam Mishnah, and here is one particular Mishnah that will be illuminating for us. Utanan. Midras. Okay, if I have a sandal and one of its flaps broke and I fixed it, so it's still tameh, it remains tameh. In other words, one side, one flap or one strap is the same thing. So one of them breaking still remains a utensil, and I fix it, it's still tameh, tumat midras, if a zav was wearing it. Nifseka sheniya v'tikena tahod militameh midras. Now here's an interesting case. One corner broke and I fixed it. Okay, so now it's a shoe again, right? Or it was a shoe the whole time. Now the other corner breaks. Yeah. What now? Do I say, well, I fixed the other one, and this is a new case. Now the second one broke. I'll fix it again, and the same thing. No, he doesn't say that. The Mishnah says you kind of remember that the first one had been broken, and so now when the second one breaks, that even though the first one was fixed, they join together, and now they're both like broken, and it loses its status of tumat midras. This reminds me of my when I was in high school. I went to my brother was in Columbia University, and he invited me to come sit in on some college classes one day. So I came into his philosophy class. I thought it was going to be like really advanced. I'm going to be lost. The question they were dealing with was the toaster question. Right? You have a toaster, and the one part breaks, the door breaks. Okay, you replace the door. Okay, then the coils break. You replace the coil. Then you replace every single part. Right? At one point, does it become a new toaster? Or what's an old toaster? So you could do it gradually. It's always an old toaster. But this Mishnah would say, once the second thing breaks, then you remember the first one, it kind of resurfaces, and it's no longer a shoe. It's a broken shoe, even though you actually fixed the first one. Okay, so that's a very interesting Mishnah. Although it is considered not a utensil regarding Tumat Midras, about Tameh Maga Midras. However, it still remains tameh in terms of touching. Why? Because there was some continuity. It's always in touch with itself. So its own tumah is always touching itself, and so the tumah from touching that doesn't leave it. But the more severe status of tumat midras does leave it, because it's considered like a new utensil, a new shoe. All right, so that's the Mishnah. And Rabbi Yochanan says halacha kesta Mishnah. So my love, loshana penimit, loshana chitzona. And you'll see over here, it didn't make a distinction between the inside one and the outside one. It sounds like no matter what, if one of them breaks, then it's okay. It doesn't matter which one, right? So that implies that whether inside or outside one breaks, it's still okay, and that would be the opinion of Rabbanan, not Rabbi Yehuda, right? Because Rabbi Yehuda makes a distinction between inside and outside. Lo pinimi davka. No, well, let's say that the Mishnah is actually talking about only the pinimit, only the inside one, and therefore it could be Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda says if the inside one breaks only one, it's okay, only the outside one. All right. Well, I mean that's a kind of ukimta that we have to read in, and it doesn't really fit the word so well. אבל חיצונה מאי טהור, היא הכי הדתני נפסקה שנייה ותקנה טהור מן המדרס, אבל טמא מגע מדרס, נפלוג בדידה. באמת דברים אמורים נפסקה פנימית, אבל חיצונה טהור. That was really true that it was only regarding the inside and not the outside one. The Mishnah should have said so. And in fact, the Mishnah does go on and finds this other case where it does become tahor. Why go to such a far-off case to find something that's tahor? You could have had one right in front of you if it happens to be the outside one. So too much is missing. You can't just assume that. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yosef, תהא משנתנו בסנדל שיש לו 4 אוזניים ו4 תרסיות, שלא לשבור דבריו של רבי יוחנן. A very important statement. He says, let's assume even more that it's a sandal that had two straps, 2 sets. And so when it's talking about one breaking, it's the one outside one breaking, but there's still another one attached that's outside, and that's why it's okay. And so, in other words, it could be the inside ones or the outside ones, but there's 2 sets of straps, not a normal case. And why would we make such a nukimta? Only to uphold the words of Rabbi Yochanan, because we don't want him to contradict himself. On the one hand, he said before halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and he says here halacha is like Stam Mishnah. So you know what? Rather than make him contradict himself, we'll assume anything we need to in this Mishnah to such an extent. Okay, we saw a statement like this some dapim ago, right? And this shows you the methodology of the Chachamim, that to have a harmony between statements and not contradictions is more important than assuming a simple reading of a Mishnah. Okay, so that's very interesting. All right. So here, in the name of Rab, we say halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, which that agrees with Rabbi Yochanan. But now we have Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Hold on, now we're in trouble, because Rabin, who came from Eretz Yisrael, said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. And we just spent a whole page proving that it is like Rabbi Yehuda. We even went so far as to reconstruct the Mishnah and all that. So now what do we do? Right, we just said what this whole thing, and since he said a statement and explained to Yehuda, he must think halacha is like Yehuda. Answer is simple. There's two Amoraim, and before we said one, and here Rabin said something else. Okay, so Rabin thinks that doesn't follow Rabbi Yehuda, but the other Amoraim think he does follow Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so we'll leave it as a machloket Tanaim. Tanan hatam, kol kele ba'ale batim shuran karimonim. Now, while we discussed that toaster oven case, we have another one, a Mishnah that's very similar. If you have a regular basket that people use, not a professional one, but one that a Baal Habayit would use. So the amount for a hole to make it no longer a utensil is if pomegranates can fall through. That's a big hole. We saw that. Remember, different levels of different sizes of holes. Here's a question. Nikab kimosi zait ustamo. Bechazar v'nikab kimosi zait ustamo. Ad sheshlimo lemosi rimon. What if you have a little hole, only the size of an olive, but you patch it up, and then another hole right next to it, also the size of an olive, and you cover it up until you have such a hole that the patches make up bigger than the pomegranate, right? I mean, you can have a case where you have a whole urn that you patched up piece by piece, and really there's very little left of the original. And if you take only the original, there'd be giant holes that are bigger than pomegranates. What do you say about that? Is it still tameh? In other words, it's the same utensil, or do you say now it's tahor? It's not the same utensil anymore. If there was any tumah on the old one, now it's gone. This is considered a new utensil. What do we say? Okay, this is a great question. It seems like a philosophical question no one can answer. But Rabbi Yochanan comes along and actually answers it. It says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi, Shanita lanu, sandal, nifseka achat meoznav, v'tikena tameh midras. Nifseka sheniya, v'tikena tahor min hamidras, aval tameh maga midras. We have that you taught us, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, right? And he says, if one corner breaks, then it's okay, you can fix it, it's still tameh, still a utensil. Then when the second one breaks, then that's it. It's no longer utensil anymore. And therefore the tumah, the serious tumah of midras, leaves it. We asked about that. What's the difference between the first one? When the first one breaks, the second one's there. That's why it's okay. But when the second one breaks, the first flap is there. So it should still be okay. What's the difference? And you told us when we asked you. This is so interesting because you see Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi discussing the Mishnah, right? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi published the Mishnah, and as soon as he publishes it, his students will say, "What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?" And so Rabbi Yochanan was there in the conversation. He's reminding Rabbi of that conversation. You told us the reason is Anim Hadashot Ba'ulechan, a new face, a new utensil has. Because it's a new utensil, both flaps broke, and now you fix both of them. It's not the same shoe anymore. So too, in this bowl that you had, that you patched and patched and patched of the little olive sizes, and now there's so many patches that's bigger than a pomegranate, it's a new utensil, and therefore it's tahor. Wow, what a great thing. He was able to answer the question. This guy was so impressed. He said, "Let den bar enash." He said about Rabbi Yochanan, this person is not human. Right? He's able to remember and apply this. Or some say the opposite. This person is, wow, what a human being. Okay, still a compliment either way. Amar Zera, Amar Baba Zimuna, Im Rishonim b'nei Malachim, Anu b'nei Anashim. Im Rishonim b'nei Anashim, Anu kachamorim. Look at Chanina ben Dosa, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, Ela Yeshar Hamorim. Right, the famous statement: if the early sages were like angels, then we are lower than them. We are just people. And if you say the early sages are people, which was the second version of the compliment here, then we are like donkeys, and not like a great donkey, like the donkey of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. About him, it was said that when he was fed a straw, he wouldn't eat it until they took tithes from it. He was such a righteous donkey. Not even like that donkey, just a plain old regular one. And so therefore, we have to look up to the traditions of sages of old who are wiser than we are. Okay, so just a couple more quick comments on the previous Mishnah, and then we'll call it a day. Nodot yayin v'shemen. We mentioned that a spout of a wine jug, oil jug that you tie up, you're allowed to tie that up. Well, Pishita, of course you can tie it up. I mean, you're pouring from it every day. These are temporary ties. And maybe it has two spigots, kind of like this thing. And one you might leave tied up all the time, and the other one is the one you use. So you might have thought that the one that you leave tied up all the time is permanent. Therefore, this comes to teach, no, that's not the case. You don't consider that permanent because sometimes you untie it. That's you go by the normal way, normal usage. Also, you can tie a cloth on top of a pot instead of a lid. They used a piece of cloth. Peshita, of course, you're going to take it off when it's done cooking. How are you going to get the food out? Maybe it has a spout, and you always use the spout. You fill it and empty it out from the spout, and then it's somewhat, you might think it's a permanent knot. Therefore, it teaches that if someone that does that is a weird person, even if it does that once in a while, that's batel, and we go by the normal usage. Remember, we had this one Tana that said at the end that you can tie the animal into the pen, and you can make a knot because the animal, you're going to let him out. It's a temporary knot. Pishita, of course. Well, I might have thought that there's two entrances, or the entrance has two ropes. And so it could be that some people only tie one rope and they open it a little. That's enough for it to get out. No, it teaches us that we don't have to worry about that case. We go to the normal case where you open both of them. Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shemuel, Halacha Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. This halacha follows that Tana. What are you saying? Halacha is like him. Are you insinuating that Tanakh Kama disagrees? I mean, there's no reason to disagree. Just adding another case. There's no machloket in the Gemara. So why do you have to say that? And so he's Rav Yehuda, name of Rav Yosef says, well, so what's it to you? So what if I said halacha is like him, even if no one disagrees? I'm just confirming that halacha is like him. What the lessons that you teach, like the song, you're saying something that's not needed for no reason. You're saying halacha is like him, even though no one disagrees. You shouldn't say things that are not needed just to add more verses. It should not be like a song, but rather everything should be clear and necessary. We had remember that same statement before. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Hazak Baruch.